Hello and welcome back. I've been called many things in my lifetime, but I quite like the term amateur bowyer at the minute, and that is what I'm basically practicing a lot in my spare time. I've had a lot of failures, you can see by my other videos, and you can see I've had some limited success, and indeed I'm having a lot of fun with the bows I have made, doing archery and practicing it in my back garden. But alas, my last bow is starting to fail, so I am now in the process of constructing another one and taking everything I've learnt from the ones before and applying it to this new bow. So I'm back in the woodshed, and to be fair, I'm spending a lot of time down here, and perhaps I should have called this channel Woodshed Productions or something of that similar vein. But it's where I can make the most mess and it not be transported anywhere but here. So I'll let you have a quick little look and you can see what I'm doing. So you can clearly see I've got a rough outline marked on the actual stave, and I've got it intersected by waypoints that I can work to, and they're denoted by the horizontal lines going across the actual stave. I have, for the first time, managed to get a better, more uniformed first grade passover to create the rough shape, and as you can see, it's a lot better than my other previous efforts where the wood was greatly hacked more than it is here. But as you can see, I'm still in the practice of learning, so I'm going to be moving on from this particular stage, and I've explained how I go about doing that. But the one thing I have learned, I do not want to touch the area of, should we say, the actual back. I want to leave that as much alone as I can, because this always seems to be where most of my failures on my other bows have happened. So beside it, this is the current bow I'm using. This is also made out of hazel, and as you can see, the one lesson I did learn, which I translated into this one, is I didn't touch the back and I didn't make the back too heavily pronounced with the D shape. It's got a very shallow D shape, but the issue I have with this bow, as you can see here, is I've got some compressions which have actually started to develop now into failures, and a small one there. The bow is still firing, and this bow started off as a 45-pound bow, but even with those compressions there, as you can see down through this bow, it's still pulling about 30 to 35 pound, which is quite adequate for the garden scenario I'm using it in. So what have I learnt and I'm going to translate into this one? Well, a couple things really. First thing is, I do need to leave a shallow D profile, and that eliminates the chances of splitting along the back. So I shall be leaving a very shallow D on this one also. But due to those failures, I shall be leaving more wood in the side profile. So translating this to this bow here, as you can see, I shall possibly be leaving at least another 5 to 10 millimeters more of wood to give it that slight thickness there. That hopefully will eliminate any of the issues I have with the compressions. But I am going to carry on, but I'm doing everything at the moment primarily by eye, and it's actually, to be honest with you, working out better for me than when I was trying to stick to hard line rigid measurements. I just seem to get myself in a fluster if I had to take a little bit more off, disappear slightly into the line. I try to correct it on the backside, and then you end up taking wood off, and then you're trying to marry that up by taking more wood off somewhere else, and in the end you kind of begin to lose your way, and those lines that you had as your waypoints, they become pointless, because what you've actually done, you've completely lost where you were actually aiming for. And I'm finding if I'm using my eyes and just running down through and taking my time, taking a few passes and doing it by eye, I'm beginning to find I'm getting a better result. What was slightly disappointing is, before I was working this particular stave here, which is greenwood, it's only been harvested possibly, I think it was 3 months ago. So it's in no way of any condition to provide me with a strong draw weight. All I'm hoping to do is to get another garden bow out of this. I do have other pieces seasoning, but I was quite disappointed, and this is something you will experience as a bowyer when you start making bows. I have a stave that when I started the initial process of sizing it up, debarking and starting to just take a few passes over it, I started to find I hit a knot which was underneath the surface, and it just became immediately clear that this bow was not going to cut the grade. So I've had to let that bow now become firewood, which is a shame, because I've already got the best part of possibly 6 to 7 months invested in this one, as in drying time. So I'll just let you quickly look and see where that one failed. So this is a piece of hazel, and it would have made a good bow. It's got some lovely colourings, dark colourings through to light creams, and the wood was dry. You can hear it, it's dry. Not I would possibly guess it's probably about 75-80% dry, but that would have still enabled me to make a bow from it, of a degree. I mean, obviously I'm not a professional bowyer who only works with fully seasoned wood, but here's the knot in question. As you can see, I found it just under the surface, carried on taking it. It became obvious then it was a substantial knot, and as I thought I'd try to work around it, big gouges on the back side of the knot started to appear, because when you started taking a sliver here, it would obviously subsequently dig down into the main, getting into the heartwood type situation. And as you can see, I've got a railway track line there, where as I've come around, it's what was a small piece of wood is pulled out a bigger chunk. So it's not worth my time, to be invested in it, because basically that's going to be a weak point and it's too far down to the handle, so it's going to receive a lot of stress, and I more than likely would never be able to recover out of these areas that have gouges in. So that piece of wood there, shamefully, is now firewood to go on top of this. I'm using a block plane, and it's taking off a reasonable quantity of wood at each time, but it's not the same as if I had a draw knife. I've looked for draw knives, but even on the selling sites that you get, they're still of a substantial price, or a price that I can't really justify for me to make bows. I have learnt, and I'm working around that scenario with this block plane. This block plane ended up in my possession just in a box of very old bits and bobs that were left in a property I was at. It obviously came with me, and over a period of time investigating what I had there, I realised all the bits and bobs put together made a block plane. So I lucked out there, but it does actually work, and as you can see, I'm getting wood off, and to a reasonable standard. So yeah, I'm continuing with the tools I have at hand. Right then, you can see I've actually got a rough line to work to, and it's only a rough line, and I'm only going to go slightly up to it. The rest of it will be done, like I said, slowly and with a plane. But to get the biggest part or chunk of that wood gone, it's a machete, and you do need to be a little bit proficient with it. So as you can see, I'm not giving it everything, but I'm just trying to get the worst of the meat gone, so I can actually put a plane on and not be planing for about 3 days to get down to where I need to get to. So after I've done all the actual chopping, I've just been planing it down. As you can see, I've got a bucket load of mess here, but I'm just taking it down roughly to the line and I will stop. I don't have any hurry for this actual bow, so I'm going to take my time and make sure I get it right. As you can see, it's taking off a nice amount of wood, although being a little bit green it does jam up in the blade, but I am getting where I want to get with it. So you can quite clearly see I'm going to leave it here and come back fresh. So you can clearly see it's now beginning to resemble something that you can start imagining being a bow. Obviously this is the back. The bit I'm trying to do is little work, except for sanding if I can help it. I've got the side profiles which still need a little bit of work, and I'm now shaping the belly to acquire the actual dimensions of the bow. Pretty much 80% of the dimensions will come from shaping this along here, which is the belly. I'm going to put this to one side now, and I'm going to fire a few arrows through my other bow just for a little bit of enjoyment. I have a whirlwind of a mess to clear up. That will go on the actual bonfire, and I'll come back to this another day. One thing I've learned: if something's worth doing, do it right, and there is no rush. Come back to it when you're fresh, and I am more than happy. And this is probably the best condition of a bow when I've got to this particular stage. So I'm improving, and you know, let's see where this one goes to in the future. So this is the bow I showed you earlier, and you can see where the compressions are, and it's made the bow even more, shall I say. So on the brace height it's about 1 inch higher than it should be, so I've compensated that with the tension on the string. So I've lost a bit of power through all the bow and a reduction in the tension on the actual string, but it's still good enough for the garden. And I shall put a few arrows down into a bag which has sawdust in it, and it's about 14 meters from me, so I'll see what I can do. One, two, three. And if we come down here, my grouping is pretty poor. You can see it's delivering arrows to this bag and going in a good 10 to 12 inches, and that is full of sawdust, and it's quite compact. So that one there was a flyer. These two represent some way of my accuracy. So yeah, you can see what this bow can do. Just for some fun, I'll let you see what the arrows hit that bag like from down this end, and you'll get an idea of what, you know, just a cheap little knock up bow can do. So I'll go back and I'll shoot. What are you doing?
Ow! Hello? What? Can I have a helmet, please?
That's a good boy. Put your helmet on.
Cost? Money? Okay. Thank you. Oh, and there's the fish money. Is that done? No, it's not done. Yes, look.
And that little clip there of the kids just goes to show how confident I am in my archery skills. I've put it all away to let them come out in the garden and enjoy the last few moments before bedtime out in the garden. So yeah, you can basically see what I'm doing and where I am with my bow making. And I'm actually at the point I'm actually enjoying the fruits of my labour in the garden. Usually when the kids are in bed, the house has gone quiet just before it gets dark. I'll spend the last 40 minutes of sunlight just here loosing a few arrows into that bag from various distances with varying degrees of success. But I am getting better and I'm enjoying it, and it's quite therapeutic. So I'm going to draw this video to a conclusion, and I'm just making sure he doesn't fall off that motorbike. He's going a bit stupid. A bit like Evel Knievel here at the moment. But yeah, I'm going to draw it to conclusion. And all the best, Andy from Folklore Hiking Sticks.